What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Dad Bod Transformation Podcast. My guest today, Scott Aaron, knows all too well that being resilient and understanding is the key to overcoming obstacles. Having a background in health, wellness, and personal training that spans over 23 years, he is crazy passionate about helping people achieve success in anything that they do. Sit back and enjoy the show, guys. Scott, my friend, welcome to the Dad Bod Transformation Podcast. How you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing great, brother. Just really honored and grateful to be here and looking forward to having a great conversation and inspiring a lot of dads out there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, reading into your bio and whatnot, you have quite the story. You actually started off, early on in your career, you were in the health and fitness space. You were a gym owner and things like that. And you made some major transitions throughout your life. So with all that being said, why don't you let our audience know just a little background about you, about how you got started, how you got into the whole fitness space, and take things from there.
Absolutely. So for the better part of my entire life, I was always an athlete. So I started playing sports at a very, very young age. Probably around, I started playing competitive sports at around 5 or 6, soccer, baseball, basketball. And then as I got a little bit older, soccer really wasn't my thing, even though I revisited it back in middle school. But baseball and basketball became my two big sports. And I really excelled at both. But I had this, someone asked me the other day, they said, what did you want to be when you grew up? And I wanted to be a professional basketball player. But when you're 5'9", white and Jewish, you really don't have too much going for you as far as genetically getting to the NBA. Right. And I still loved it. I played I played on a lot of travel teams in high school. Mm-hmm. It was just, I loved it. So I was always into sports. Even when I went to college, I started off at the University of Pittsburgh. I used to play in rec leagues against even some of the guys that played on the University of Pittsburgh basketball team. Vontigo Cummings, who was our big star, he ended up playing for the Golden State Warriors and then ended up playing for the Sixers, actually. Oh, wow. And two of my really good friends growing up, Chuck Moore and John Salmons, Chuck ended up getting a full ride scholarship to Seton Hall and then transferred and played for Vanderbilt. But John actually got a full ride scholarship to Miami and then ended up getting drafted by the Spurs and ended up having a 13-year NBA career playing for the Bulls, the Sacramento Kings, the Milwaukee Bucks, and the 76ers. And so I was always surrounded by athletes, and my dad was a coach of mine for a better part of my career in my early childhood. And he was the big fitness buff. My father was into bodybuilding and lifting since he was a teenager. I wasn't really into the gym. I used to go with him and watch him work out with his buddies, but I was more of the athlete. I loved playing sports. And a lot of that kind of changed. So my father has always been an entrepreneur. He still is. And my father in the mid-1990s was running and owned and ran with his business partner a very, very lucrative and successful industrial business. He actually used to sell latex gloves to hospitals, doctors' offices, dentists, all over the East Coast. They were actually one of the largest East Coast distributors of these products. And my dad ended up kind of branching out, sold his partnership, and ended up working for someone else in the physical rehabilitation industry. And this is kind of where life really turned a different direction. My dad ended up managing a bunch of locations, almost like NovaCare, which is a physical rehabilitation corporation. But these businesses were actually stationed inside of gyms. So my dad was managing a bunch of locations. And then about a year and a half after that, he exited very quickly and had the opportunity to buy his first gym, which was a failing fitness club in downtown Center City, Philadelphia, called Old City Ironworks. Now, on the outside looking in, that didn't seem weird or awkward to me, because my father, his passion was health and wellness. So it just made sense that he would go and buy a gym. A
Right.
year after owning the gym, he revealed to us that there was a big reason why he got out of that old company and bought this gym. And he let us know that he was cooperating with the federal government because the company that he was previously working for was under investigation for a $9.5 million insurance fraud case. And my
Ooh.
father was actually in the middle of it. So to make a long story short, my father ended up getting sentenced to 24 to 36 months in federal prison for insurance fraud. And I, at that time, was 18 and a half, almost 19, a sophomore in college. I actually had to leave the University of Pittsburgh, transfer to Temple University in downtown Philadelphia to take over
Mhm.
the family business, which was a health club. And that was basically my introduction, not only into entrepreneurship, but that was my introduction into the health and wellness industry.
Oh, wow. Now, were you just, when you took that over, did you take it over strictly as, like a managerial position, or did you actually get involved in, learning and educating yourself on nutrition and fitness and things like that, so you were actually able to coach people as well?
So initially, I was being prepped to, take over the club because my father was the owner. He was away, and my mom actually started helping out at the gym. My cousin bought in and started helping at the gym, and I had a general manager, I had a floor manager, I had personal trainers, fitness instructors, I had a chiropractor.
Right.
So I had to learn from my general manager how to run the daily operations. And this
Hmm.
was kind of like the best learning experience ever for me. And I think being thrown into this at such a young age actually played to my benefit, because if I was any older, there could have been some more emotional resistance there. But because I was so
Right.
young, I I was still at that age as a teenager where you want to make your family proud. So I
Hmm.
had to step up as a teenager, but had to be an adult. And I can tell you that the community of this gym welcomed me. They basically adopted me and really supported me because again, these were all young professionals, mid to late 20s, early 30s, and older. And here is this kid. I've never worked out a day in my life, but I
Right.
remember we had this like two-way window in between the front desk that looked out onto the gym floor. And I remember distinctly, it was within the first 6 months of me being at the gym. I remember looking out and looking at all these fit people. And
Hmm.
I said to myself, I'm like, I have the genetics. My father's a beast. I
Right.
should really do something. So I remember,
Hmm.
so my mom would go visit my dad on Saturdays, and my sister and I would go visit my dad on Sundays. So my mom would have time with him, and then the kids would have time with him. And I remember
Right.
sitting with my dad, and I said, Dad, I think I want to start working out. So he never like pushed it on me,
Hmm.
even though I was running the gym. He never said, listen, if you're going to work at the gym, you got to start working out. I think he knew that being in that environment, you can't help but actually want to start working out.
Yeah.
Now, my family was always healthy. So as far as nutrition goes, my mom, uh, I mean, still loves cooking me dinner, whenever I can find the time to go there. But she was all
Right.
like, I remember in high school, even in middle school, growing up. So my family, my mom was very strict in the sense that we had family dinner every single night, Monday through Thursday. Weekends, we can do whatever we want with our friends, but Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday,
Right.
Thursday, the four of us sat down. We had dinner every night. My mom always made a salad every single night, and
Hmm.
she was making whole wheat pasta before people were really using whole wheat pasta. This was in the early to mid 90s. She
Yeah.
was using ground turkey instead of ground beef. So I was raised in a
Hmm.
very health conscious family. So
Right.
that was all. I always had healthy habits, but I didn't understand nutrition from the complexity that I do now.
Right.
So my dad wrote me a very basic workout plan because he knew that
Hmm.
like he couldn't be there to spot me. So we had, circuit machines, and he said, "Listen," he
Right.
goes, "I'm going to put you on a basic routine, and I want you to do this for the next X amount of months or whatever." The first year of me
Right.
working out, I was about 135 pounds soaking wet. I went from
Hmm.
135 to 160 in 1 year, and
Hmm.
I caught the bug. I mean, that when
Right.
you start working out, and you start feeling the benefit of being healthy, and working out, breaking the body down, building it back up. uh I didn't want to stop, and it's one of those things where I started lifting when I was 19. I'm 41 now, so I probably haven't taken a week off since I was 19 years old, and it's
Yeah.
now just a part of me. And the nutrition part was, I think, the most challenging thing for me, because I think that's the most complex thing to actually living a healthy lifestyle, because all of our metabolisms are different, all of our
Yep.
body structure is different. So you really have to kind of play around with what's best for your body. I follow more of a intuitive eating schedule now, so I really know my
Hmm.
body after all these years. But it took me a really long time to get to where I am now, and there was a lot of ups and downs. There was I did have some food addiction issues as a young kid when I was in middle school. I
Okay.
I I was really afraid of getting fat. I remember this, so I did
Hmm.
deal with slight anorexia at one point. I lost a lot of weight very quickly. My dad had to put me on weight gaining shakes when I was around 14 or 15 years old. So I worked through all that, obviously,
Right.
but I got re-triggered when I started competing in bodybuilding X amount of years later, and I was heavily
Hmm.
competing for about 4 years, and the trigger of my food addictions actually got brought back around, and that was one of the main reasons why I stopped competing, because I needed to maintain a healthy lifestyle, not just for me, but for my family as well.
Sure, sure. Most people do not understand that the strict protocols that you have to put yourself through to actually do bodybuilding and to compete at any type of level. It's a tremendous amount of sacrifice, but it's very very easy. There's a lot of guys and women for that matter that get involved in bodybuilding, and because of the strict protocols they actually wind up developing eating disorders even if they never had them before. Because they're so well, there's no other way to say it, and it sometimes it comes off with a negative connotation, but they're so obsessed with their body and the way that their body looks that it's very, very easy to fall into that trap. But it sounds to me like you were fortunate enough that you had a good solid base in nutrition that even when you did kind of slide somewhat, you were able to pull yourself back. And I think it's really important. I want to go back and touch on one of the things that you said. Now you have a more intuitive style of eating. You
Mhm.
know what your body needs. You can tell by the way you feel. That is something that a lot of people really need to start grasping the concept of. Once you find a nutrition protocol that works for you, and you can sustain it for long periods of time, it gets to the point where you don't have to worry about weighing your food and measuring your food and all that stuff, because you just know. It's like one of the I follow a ketogenic protocol, and one of the things that I typically eat every morning, because it's got a little bit of protein, it's got healthy fats in it, plenty of sodium, is I'll eat 3 ounces of pepperoni. Okay. Along with some other healthy fats and whatnot. But when I reach in the bag of pepperoni, I don't have to weigh 3 ounces. I've been doing it for so long. I know how 3 ounces feels in my hand. And granted, that's kind of a crude example, but exactly what you're saying is the truth. You need to get in tune with your body so you can realize, you know, the cues of, oh, okay, I feel like, my carbohydrate intake was a little low today. I need to increase that a little bit and things like that. Now, with you working with clients, with nutrition and whatnot, have you adapted that approach and tried to express that onto your clients as well?
Yeah. So, I was a personal trainer and certified sports nutritionist for 18 years. So, about a year in to running the gym, I said, if I'm going to be a professional in this, I need the backing. And the best certification you can get, there's two. One is kind of going through life and really educating yourself, because you can read all the books you want, you can take all the classes you want, but you have to kind of learn on your own what works and what doesn't work. But I did
Right.
got my certification in sports nutrition and personal training, and because obviously, I wanted to really be looked at as a professional, and I
Mm-hmm.
I really really started to dig into it. And when I started working with clients, I ran a very, very successful personal training practice. Um, in my 18 years of training, I probably logged close to 65,000 hours of personal training one on one, because
Wow.
I was sought after in the Philadelphia area. I was very
Mm-hmm.
highly known and recognized as one of the top trainers in the city, along with my father. And as far as nutrition, I really took that to another level when I started really understanding the complexities of nutrition. But here's what I understood is my clients' success. It really didn't matter what I did with them in the gym working out, because
Mm-hmm.
90% of how someone looks is what they're putting into their body. The
Right.
hardest part of my job was helping them make better choices. And the fact is that what I realized is that emotionally people eat without being conscious of those decisions that they're making, because it's all related back to maybe some things from their childhood, or maybe something that happened to them in college or in high school. So a lot of those
Mm-hmm.
habits they're not even recognized because they're automatic. So for me, it was really inspiring and motivating my clients to make the right decision. If they want to eat chicken parmesan, how can they do it in the healthiest way possible where it's not going to hurt their body? If they want to
Right.
have a hamburger with bacon and cheese, what's the healthiest
Mm-hmm.
way that they can do it that's not going to hurt their body? Because the one thing that I used to do corporate wellness speaking, I used to go to local companies, and the one thing that I always used to say to people, everyone knows what's good for you and what's bad for you. I mean,
Right.
it's very simple. And the one thing that I used to tell people, in addition to that, was if you're going to go to the supermarket, always stay to the edges of the supermarket. Because
Yeah.
if you think about the
Yep.
supermarket, the edges has the healthiest stuff. So that's where
Mm-hmm.
you're going to have your produce. It's where you're going to have your fruits, your vegetables, your fish, your meats, your healthy dairy, your eggs, all on the
Mm-hmm.
edges. In the middle is all the crap, but that's where all the people end up
Yep.
spending their most time. So the more that
Oh
you
yeah.
get in the middle, the crappier the food gets. So always stay to the
Mm-hmm.
outside of that. And when people start to understand that they have the control and they have the power to make those healthy choices, that's the one thing that I would always instill in my clients. I would say, what do you love to eat? And they would tell me, and I would give them the healthiest substitute or something very similar to it that's going to still satisfy them in a way where they're not feeling deprived. Because here's what I know: when someone feels deprived, when they're told you can't have this, you're not allowed to have this, what is a human
Mm-hmm.
being going to do? They are going to
Oh, they're gonna eat it.
revolt. They're going to revolt
Mm-hmm.
against that, because it's when you don't want to give people restrictions. I was
Mm-mm.
in everything that I've been doing for the last 23 years of my coaching, I've always been a suggestive coach, leader, and trainer. I've always made
Mm-hmm.
suggestions. I never tell people, this is what you have to do, this is what you should do. Here's my
Right.
suggestion of what you can do that's worked for me and it could work for you.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I'm the same way with my clients. I tell people all the time, it's, and I use that same example about the perimeter of a grocery store. When you get into the inner aisles of the grocery store, that's where you can save your money because eating crap is cheap. You
Yep.
can eat crap really, really cheap, but you want to eat good, healthy food, it costs a little more. So I think that's another reason, especially in today's society, where you have people that are spending so much time trying to stretch their dollars here and there in those middle aisles rather than hitting the perimeter. But it's I guess when you get right down to it, people need to find something that's sustainable and works for them. And like you're saying, if you tell somebody, like people that are on a ketogenic protocol, for example, if you tell them you can't have carbs at all, or you can only have 20 grams of carbs or 30 grams of carbs or whatever it is, if you tell them that, it starts a process in their brain where it's almost like they're hoarding carbs and sneaking carbs because they're not real sure. They're listening to what you're saying, but at the same time they're like, I don't think I can do that. I've always ate more carbohydrates than that. I've always had pancakes for breakfast on Sunday with my family and stuff like that. And I think the most important thing that people need to do, no matter what it is, no matter what they're trying to, if they are trying to restrict a macronutrient or something, I think they need to, whatever it is that they're going to do, they need to plan for it. I think education and planning when it comes to nutrition is key. I don't give my clients a meal plan. I'll give them a sample day of what a sample day's meal should be, but I don't give them a meal plan because I want them to, okay, well, this is how a day should be structured. Now I need to start substituting my own foods and putting this stuff together because I feel as a coach, as a trainer, our job is to give our clients the tools to where they don't need us anymore. It's our job to educate. At least that's how I see it.
No, that's exactly how I see it too. I didn't want my clients being dependent upon me. So
Right.
I wanted to create an independent relationship with my clients. And a lot of trainers out there, sadly, they try to create these codependent relationships with their clients where they make things so difficult and so in a way where that client can't do it without them. That's not what I wanted. I wanted
Right.
to educate every single one of my clients, whether I was training them in personal training or in nutrition or both, how they can
Mm-hmm.
create a healthy lifestyle. Because the
Yes.
way that you do one
Yes.
thing is the way that you do everything. And, scientifically, it's been proven that it takes 66 days to create a new habit. So I
Mm-hmm.
knew that if I could get a client of mine to really not buy in, but really open up to the way that they could be living a healthy lifestyle and they make those changes, they see and feel a difference. Now their body is actually letting them know, hey, what you're doing, I like. They start sleeping better. They start having
Right.
natural energy. Their mental clarity improves, all of those things. And that's what's
Mm-hmm.
really important to understand is when you really want to make a change in your life. Prime example, I don't do much online wellness coaching. More, I actually help more wellness coaches run their business, in a more profitable way. But I do have a buddy of mine that reached out to me that I used to do some nutritional consulting with. And he's like, listen, I need to work with you again for another 12 weeks. I need the accountability. And, we had a little catch up call. I do 15-minute calls a week, just like you.
Mm-hmm.
I gave him a sample
Right.
day. I gave him a little food list, and I said, you need to kind of mix and match from here with what you like. Gave him some suggestions, replacements, and he lost 4.5 pounds in his first week. Now, a lot of that
Mm-hmm.
is water weight, but
Sure.
again, he goes, man, he goes that the power of accountability is everything because he's in North Jersey, I'm in South Jersey. I sent him an Excel sheet with everything, but just
Mm-hmm.
knowing that you're being held accountable by someone that you've invested money in, but really in yourself, it's so
Mm-hmm.
important to create those healthy habits off the bat. But the bigger thing for me is this. being on the other side of the wellness industry, being,
Mhm.
consulting and coaching wellness professionals now,
Mhm.
I have a responsibility as a father. When I became a dad almost 8 years ago, and having a son, I wanted to instill in my son what my father instilled in me, which is never forcing nutrition and fitness on me. I was
Right.
I observed everything that my dad was doing. So obviously I have a home gym right now since the gyms in Jersey are closed. So,
Right.
we have our little we have a universal machine, and then we have, some barbells and dumbbells and, push-up racks.
Mhm.
And my son goes down and he'll do some push-ups, he'll do some curls. Like, so I'm not telling him go do a set of curls. He's actually become curious himself. Also,
Right.
sometimes he doesn't even know what I'm feeding him. He loves hash browns.
Mhm.
So I get him cauliflower hash browns. And so he doesn't know that he's actually eating a vegetable instead of a starch, which is a potato. And so again, he gets used
Right.
to all this. When he has pasta, he gets gluten-free pasta. When he's getting chicken
Mhm.
nuggets, he gets gluten-free, hormone-free chicken nuggets. So, there are so many ways that parents can actually, without putting any pressure or brainwashing or, you know, over analyzing the process of how to instill healthy habits in their kids, you can do it without them even knowing or even asking. You just kind of, they'll eat what you give them. And if they ask you a certain thing, there is a replacement and there is an option for all of that.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that's it. And it doesn't matter whether it's what they're eating or, like in your example with your son, going down and working out or whatever, you know, it's it's as old as time, man. Kids follow our example. They see what we do. In most cases, they want to emulate us, so they're going to follow along in our footsteps. This was something I wish I had learned much earlier in my life. If I had, maybe, like my oldest son would be healthier than what he is now. Um, but I didn't make a change in my life until I slammed up against a wall and, wound up in a diabetic coma and almost died. That was the thing that made me change my life. And because it even took me years after that before I really started. I mean, I had made progress, but before I really started paying attention and working towards getting healthy and joining a gym and working out and stuff like that, by time I really kicked things into that high gear, my son was already grown. He was grown and gone. So it was like, in hindsight, I wish that I had discovered all these things later in life. But I guess that's why I work so hard now to try to affect people's lives as much as possible because, you know, the bottom line is this: there is no exercise better for your body than exercising this right here. It's all
Yeah.
about knowledge. If you understand what macronutrients and micronutrients do in the body, if you understand what metabolic stress created by physical exercise does in the body, if you understand these concepts, you realize how important exercise and nutrition are, and you can take steps to improve your life.
I mean, if you look at some of the top performers, not athletes, just people in the world, and
Hmm.
they're asked, what is something that's a non-negotiable for you?
Hmm.
They say, well, there's two non-negotiables. They say, I eat healthy and I work out. All
Yep.
all top performers,
Hmm.
nutrition and working out, that is something that successful people do
Yep.
because it people don't understand how important it is to work out. I used to do it, egoically when I was younger because I just wanted to be jacked
Hmm.
and big and
Sure.
look good on the beach. I mean, now I still maintain anywhere between 6 to 8% body fat all year round without even trying because I know my body. But I also, when I'm 41 now, when I go to the beach, I'm still as confident as I was when I was in my 20s taking my shirt off. I actually look forward to it. But I
Right.
look around at other dads that
Hmm.
just let themselves go. And,
Right.
again, wellness, fitness, and nutrition, it doesn't know age.
Nope.
Yes, do our metabolisms slow down? Absolutely, but not to a screeching halt where you you get fat overnight. You can do things right now, no matter at what age you are, to ramp up your metabolism, to keep looking like you're in your 20s and 30s. Outside of me
Hmm.
having no hair, when I meet people and I tell them how old I am, they're like, wow, I would have never guessed you're in your 40s. My father's the same
Right.
way. He's close to 70. And if you saw my dad, you would
Hmm.
think he was probably in his late 40s, early 50s. My mom also. My mom, she's a year younger than my dad. She's gonna be
Hmm.
67, and she doesn't look like she's in her 60s either. And that's the thing,
Right.
people don't understand. When you work out, when you hydrate every day, when you treat your body
Hmm.
good, that's the fountain of youth. It's not. And
Absolutely.
going back to something you said very early on, the days of me putting my food in plastic containers is long gone. The
Right.
only thing that goes in plastic containers now is actually the leftovers from what I cook. I
Yep.
So, like, I'll make dinner and I know exactly what my body can take. So one of the worst feelings that I can feel now is actually the
Hmm.
feeling of being full. I don't eat to be full. I actually
Hmm.
eat to contention. So when I eat enough, when my body is content, my body tells me, "Listen, you're good. You don't need any more food. Do not force feed yourself." Because you have to understand, when I weigh about anywhere between 168 to 171 pounds now all year round. When I
Okay.
was competing, I would fluctuate between 205 off season when I was
Hmm.
bulking, and I would diet down to about 170 for a show. So that was a
Okay.
35-pound swing over 14 weeks. So I was eating every 2 hours from the minute I woke
Yep.
up to the minute I would eat 8 times a day. At a minimum,
Hmm.
500 calories per meal. I was consuming 4,000 calories a day. And, you don't understand, like, having to force feed yourself is one of the most disgusting feelings you could ever feel. And I remember when I would ever go to a steakhouse,
Hmm.
I wouldn't get the filet. I would ask the waiter, "What's your largest steak on the menu?"
Right.
And I would always order the largest steak because it had the most quote unquote protein. But
Right.
did I understand it? If I was going to eat a 24-ounce porterhouse, I didn't understand that I was also taking in about 130 grams of fat and almost
Hmm.
2,000 calories with that one piece of steak. But you have to educate yourself. You have to go through the process. And so the only things that I still do weigh, I weigh my grains. That's it. So
Right.
I have the same breakfast every single morning. I have
Hmm.
6 eggs every single morning, 4 whole organic, 2 egg white, and then I do a quarter cup of cream of rice. That's every single
Right.
morning for me. And then
Hmm.
I eat the same thing every day. So the only things that I actually weigh is when I'm having brown rice with dinner, or if I'm having cream of rice or
Hmm.
oatmeal for breakfast. Everything else, vegetables, sweet potato, my proteins, it's all eyeballed at this point because I know exactly what my body requires.
Yep. Yep, exactly. I tell people all the time, if you want the simplest meal plan possible, eat plenty of protein, make sure that the fats you eat is healthy fats, and weigh your carbohydrates.
Yeah.
Don't worry about weighing your protein. Don't worry about, weighing and tracking your fat. Because here's the deal. If you're eating quality protein and quality healthy fats, you're going to be full, so you're not going to overeat them. The most dangerous thing that you can overeat is carbohydrates because your body can't eliminate it. What happens if you eat too much fat or too much protein? You eliminate it, but carbohydrates you can't. Your body's going to store it as body fat, and it creates a vicious cycle that winds up the new hashtag that me and a couple people on Twitter are really trying to push is hashtag diobesity. because obesity and diabetes are so directly connected, and
Yeah.
people aren't making this correlation, even though there are literally hundreds and hundreds of studies out there. It's like people are like, rather than them making that correlation, they're more inclined to talk about the, what is it, healthy and heavy, or there's a couple different catchphrases that are out there now. But it's all about people being obese, but yet they think they're healthy.
Well,
And I'm sorry, it's the two are definitely, they don't mix.
well,
Not
John,
in
the
my
big thing
book.
is this. Well, the big thing is this. People don't think it's ever going to happen to them.
Hmm.
They don't.
Right.
I'm not going to get a stroke. I'm not going to have a
Hmm.
heart attack. I'm not going to get a
Right.
blood clot. I'm not going to have high
Hmm.
blood sugar. I'm never going to get high cholesterol. I'm not going to have,
Right.
my numbers all over the place. I'm never going to get type 2 diabetes until it happens. So
You're exactly
my
right.
my question to the listeners, if this is something that's resonating with you, why are you waiting to take control of your health till something bad happens?
Hmm.
That's it just doesn't make sense to me. And again, these are the glaring things that I think about all the time, where I everyone, well, and here's the thing, I'm not going to go down this rabbit hole, but everyone says, it's my genetics, I'm big boned, a lot of people are heavy in my what people have to understand, the way that you look typically is a representation of your emotional state.
Hmm.
Because there's a lot of people that they emotionally overeat, or they emotionally undereat, and you have to understand that, like you said, the 6 inches between your ears is the most sacred place that we all have, because your
Absolutely.
your your thoughts, your mindset, it's either going to hurt you or it's either going to help you, and that's a decision that each person has to make. And I sympathize and empathize with people that struggle with food, and they struggle with maintaining a lifestyle. And I don't like to call things diets, because diet has a negative connotation to it. When people
Hmm.
think diet, the first thing they think about is diet equals I can't have. And again,
Yep.
that triggers that emotional connection. I
Hmm.
talk about maintaining a healthy lifestyle. And what does a healthy lifestyle look like? It's not just food. It's
No.
it's proper water intake. It's making
Hmm.
sure that you're getting enough sleep. It's making sure that you're working out or doing something to move every single day, whether it's just walking around your block or your neighborhood for a half hour, 45 minutes a day.
Yep.
Doing
Yep.
something is always better than doing nothing. And then also lumping food in there. Once you start feeling better, you're not going to want to stop feeling better, because who wakes up every single day and says, "You know what? I want to feel like shit today. I want to eat a
Yeah.
bunch of crap.
Right.
I want to eat a bunch of
Hmm.
crap that's not going to make me feel good. And you know what? I want to have horrible sleep. You know what? I really want to get sleep apnea, where I actually stop breathing throughout the night because I'm carrying so much extra weight. And you know what? While we're on that road, might as well go for type 2 diabetes so I can inject myself with insulin
Sure.
every day. That sounds awesome."
Hmm.
And this
Right.
is my whole point. There's nothing fancy or scientific or mind blowing about looking and feeling good. I'll go back to something
Mm-mm.
that I said early on, John. Everyone knows what is good for you and what is bad for you. So the more
Right.
good choices that you make and the less bad choices that you make, you're going to see and feel a difference.
Yep, I agree 100%. Now, what would you say? And the reason I asked this question is because the Dad Bod Transformation Group on Facebook is, without a doubt, hands down, in my opinion, the best place for men to go for motivation and support when it comes to improving the quality of their life through health and fitness. So, with that being said, how important would you say putting yourself in a space like that and putting yourself out there and being accountable is to success in anything you're trying to do in this area?
Accountability is everything, because every student Every teacher is still a student. So I have
Mhm.
coaches. I still work with people.
Yep.
When I
Mhm.
was training for my bodybuilding shows, I didn't do it on my own. I
Right.
hired a personal trainer. I hired a
Mhm.
nutritional coach, and I hired a posing coach because I
Mhm.
knew if I was going to invest in someone else, which was really investing in me, they were going to tell me, and it wasn't taking a shortcut, it was shortening the learning curve. So
Yep.
if you really want to get to your most optimal health in not the quickest way, the most optimal way, then you need to work with someone. The knowledge is
Yeah.
power. You hear this all the time.
Indeed.
So if you don't know what macro or micronutrients are, if you don't know the difference between complex and simple carbohydrates, if you don't know the difference between omega 3, 6, and 9 fatty fats, if you don't know the difference between monosaturated, unsaturated, saturated fats, if you don't know the difference between lean or fatty protein, hire someone to teach you, because the
Mhm.
more that you can understand exactly what those things are, and then you can start to develop your own intuitive program around those things, a lot can happen in 12 months. I mean, I've
Oh yeah.
helped when I was doing my nutritional coaching, I helped at least 2 dozen people lose over a
Mhm.
hundred pounds naturally within a year. And you want to talk about getting your life back? I had a guy, he was on about 6 different medications. And it's not
Mhm.
because of me. When he started living a healthier lifestyle, he started working out, he started eating better, he started doing the things that were actually helping his body, not hurting his body. By the end of that year, his doctor said, listen, all your levels are great. You can get off all this stuff.
Mhm.
Everybody deserves
Yep.
that. All you
Yeah.
have to do, and just think about, John, think about this. If someone is listening to
Mhm.
this or watching this and they're 40 years old and they hate how they feel, they hate how they look, it's taken you 40 years to get to this point.
Right.
If you commit to 1 year of doing what's right for your body and
Yep.
not what is wrong for your body, you can literally reverse the aging clock. A year from now,
Mhm.
you commit right now, a year from now, your entire life could be completely different just by making better choices. So that's what you need to get excited about. It's taken you 40 years to get to this point where you're not looking good, you're not feeling good, you don't like what's going on. You commit to 1 year. That's all I'm asking you guys to do. I'm asking you to commit to just 12 months, 365 days of consistency, of eating,
Yep.
eating well, sleeping enough, drinking water, working out every single day for the next 365 days. I can promise you, your entire life will be different at the end of that year.
Yep. Without a doubt. And it's like you look at people and you're like, okay, so you felt like shit for 40 years. A year from now, you could be feeling fantastic. I'll tell you, when I went from being 405 pounds and the person that I was back in 2007 to, to the person that I am today, I think back and I'm 53 years old. And like you were talking about your parents and how they don't look their age. Most people look at me, and if it wasn't for the gray in my beard, they'd swear I wasn't a day older than 40. But it's because I'm treating my body right now, and
Mm.
and I actually think there was a study done where people were talking about, for every 20 pounds of excess body weight that you lose, unneeded body weight, you add 10 years to your life, and I believe that. I truly do, because people don't realize what excess body fat and what visceral fat especially does to the body.
Mm.
It's just insane. Well, we're running out of time, so but before because I know you're a busy man, and so am I. I want to get one more question in, and it's one that I ask all my guests to come on the show. If you could do one thing that would make a global impact on health and fitness, what would it be?
It's a really big question, and I have a real simple answer. And it's basically educating people on a very standard way of eating food, no matter where they live, what country they're in, helping people understand that making those right choices, those healthy choices, not only can change their life, but those decisions can change the complexity of their entire family's life. Because again, we don't realize our family watches what we do. Our kids watch what we do. They watch how we treat ourselves and our bodies. So when you start treating yourself better, you end up treating your entire family better.
That is powerful. That's a powerful answer there, my friend. Okay, well, before you take off, why don't you let everybody know where they can find, and we didn't even get into some of the other stuff that you do, coaching other wellness coaches on how to improve their business and whatnot. So we may actually have to have you back on. But before you go, let everybody know where they can find you on social media and whatnot.
Yeah, my website houses mostly everything. It's www.scottaaron.net. My 2 #1 best-selling books are on there. I have some free downloads and giveaways on there. And on social media, anyone can find me on Facebook and LinkedIn under Scott Aaron, and that's 2 T's and 2 A's. And if you want to connect with me on Instagram, my handle is @ScottAaronLinkedIn.
There you go. You can't beat it. All right, my friend, sit tight. I'm going to wrap this video up real quick, and then I want to have a few parting words with you. Okay, guys. I knew Scott was going to be an awesome guest. He has the same mindset around health and nutrition that I do and that a lot of you guys in the group do. So I know you got some value out of this. Do me a favor, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the like, hit the bell, hit all that stuff. So that way you get notified when new episodes of the Dad Bod Transformation Podcast drop. Until I see you guys again, you know my motto, playtime's over. It's time to get to work.